If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place.
Hello everyone. You might be considering to yourself, this pandemic doesn't seem to be ending anytime soon. Well, you might be right, and so you might be wondering, what about visits to the hospital? Should I take them? Should I go? Should I not? Well, on this podcast brought to you by Africa Business Radio and BRV Films, I, Dr. Ayodele Rena, am going to be thrashing out this particular thorny issue here on this podcast. So, should you go to the hospital? Well, if you are likely to encounter anyone that has COVID-19, it is most likely to be in the hospital. So, if you do not have any urgent need to be in the hospital, you might as well just not turn up there. However, if you have any chronic diseases like hypertension, asthma, diabetes, or anything for which you have been taking drugs for a long time and you need a drug refill, you can easily call your hospital or your physician and ask them to help you to prescribe the medications. You can go into the hospital and pick them up so that you don't spend too much time in the hospital. And of course, while in the hospital, make sure that you maintain social distance, wear a mask, and make sure that you are sanitizing your hands as often as possible. If you have an emergency, so for instance, you are vomiting, a home accident, you are bleeding, and it needs urgent attention, please by all means go into the hospital. A lot of hospitals have very well laid out protocols that prevent you from getting the coronavirus. They'll protect themselves from you and they'll protect you from them as well. They'll wear PPE if they have and make sure that they maintain as much of a distance as is reasonable as possible. And if they must come close to you, then they'll make sure that they're wearing masks and the other equipment that will prevent you from getting the coronavirus. Telemedicine options are also available. So for instance, I'm aware that the Lagos State government has launched a telemedicine platform for which patients can access care online. Other private telemedicine platforms also exist. I'm sure Google will be your friend on that particular issue. Immunizations and elective cases are a bit of a thorny issue. So elective cases are surgeries that are not emergency. So for instance, you have a lump that you want to get rid of or a tooth that you want to have extracted. Most elective cases have been cancelled in this era because they are not urgent, and so you might not be able to do your elective case right now during this COVID-19 pandemic. Immunizations are an essential part of healthcare for children. If you can go to your hospital and they can administer the immunizations without you being in a crowd such that there's adequate social distance maintained between one mother and the other, then by all means still go for immunization. However, if you are going to be in a crowded place like a general hospital, immunizations can be postponed, and there are guidelines by the WHO for how to do the catch-up once an immunization has been postponed. For most immunizations, if you miss a dose, that dose does not need to be repeated. All you need to do is continue from the place where you stopped and then complete the immunizations. I hope this has been helpful to you, and I'll see you next time on this podcast.
This has been a public health collaboration between Africa Business Radio, BRV Films, and Oncopadi.com.